What if the moment you thought you failed everyone was actually the moment you discovered your purpose? What if 10,000 strangers could teach you more about yourself in one night than you'd learned in years of competition? My name is Eala, and this is the story of how I went from thinking I'd let down an entire country to understanding why I really play tennis. Manila, 11 p.m. I'm sitting alone in my hotel room. I just lost, straight sets, out of the tournament. My racket bag is on the floor where I dropped it. I haven't even changed out of my match clothes. I'm just sitting on the edge of the bed, staring at nothing. The match keeps replaying in my head. The unforced errors, the break points I couldn't convert. The final game where everything just fell apart. I pick up my phone. 10,000 notifications. My first thought, here comes the criticism. I've been here before. After every loss, the comments come. You should have done this. Why didn't you do that? You let us down. When you represent a country of 110 million people, everyone has an opinion. And after a loss, those opinions aren't usually kind. I almost put the phone down, almost decided to read everything tomorrow when I'd had time to build up my walls again. But something made me start scrolling. What I read in the next hour changed everything I thought about representing the Philippines. To understand why that night mattered so much, you need to understand what I represent back home. Tennis isn't basketball. It isn't boxing. In a country where Manny Pacquiao is a deity and the national basketball team fills stadiums, tennis barely registers. There are only 47 registered tennis courts in Metro Manila, a city of 14 million people. For comparison, Melbourne, Australia, population 5 million, has over 1,200 courts. When I qualified for my first Grand Slam, I wasn't just a tennis player making history, I was proving something bigger. That Filipino athletes could compete in sports the world doesn't expect us to dominate. That a girl from a middle-class family could train in Spain, face the best players in the world, and belong. News headlines called me the future of Philippine tennis. Politicians posted about me. Schools showed my matches in assemblies. At 18 years old, I became a symbol. But here's the thing about symbols. They're heavy to carry. After every match, win or lose, my phone explodes. Thousands of messages, articles, social media tags, interview requests. Most athletes from bigger tennis nations blend into the crowd. They are one of many. There are dozens of American players, hundreds of European players. When they lose, the world moves on. I don't have that luxury. I'm one of one. Every tournament, I represent 110 million Filipinos, and everyone has something to say. For years, I thought that meant I had to be perfect, that every loss was a failure not just for me, but for everyone watching back home. That night in the hotel room, sitting with my phone in my hands, I was convinced I'd see thousands of messages telling me I wasn't good enough. I started scrolling. The first message was from a father in Cebu. My daughter watched your match today. She's 9 years old. She's never seen tennis before. After watching you, she asked me, "Papa, can I try?" Tomorrow, we're finding a court. Thank you for showing her that girls from the Philippines can dream big. I read it twice, then 3 times. This wasn't what I expected. I kept scrolling. The second message was from an overseas Filipino worker in Dubai. I'm a nurse, 12-hour shifts, 6 days a week. Sometimes I forget why I'm working this hard, so far from home. My family is in Manila. I haven't seen them in 8 months. Then I see you playing on the world stage, fighting for every point. It reminds me, we Filipinos don't give up. Thank you for representing us with pride. You give me strength to keep going. My eyes started to blur. The third message was from a former Philippine national team player. I played for the Philippines in the 90s. Back then, we couldn't even get funding to travel to tournaments. We'd share hotel rooms. Sometimes we'd skip meals to afford court time. Seeing you at Roland Garros, at Wimbledon, with the Philippine flag on your bag, you're living the dream we couldn't reach. Whether you win or lose, you've already won. You're there. You made it. Keep going, Alex, for all of us who couldn't. I had to put the phone down for a moment. I didn't know this person. I'd never met them. But their words hit me somewhere deep. All those years ago, someone else was fighting for Philippine tennis. Someone else was sacrificing, struggling, dreaming. And they never got the chances I have.
I picked up the phone again. The fourth message was from a high school student in Manila. I failed my exam today. I felt like giving up, like maybe I'm not smart enough, not good enough. Then I saw your match. You lost, but you fought until the last point. You didn't quit. You ran for every ball. Even when it was obvious you were going to lose, you kept trying. So I won't quit either. I'll retake the exam. Thank you for teaching me that trying is more important than perfect results. I thought about that student, sitting in a classroom somewhere in Manila, feeling like a failure, watching my match and finding something to hold on to. I'd lost, I'd played poorly, and somehow that student found inspiration in it, not in my victory, in my effort. The fifth message broke me. It was from a mother in Davao. My son has cerebral palsy. Doctors said he'd never walk properly. They said his motor skills would always be limited. But he loved watching you play. He'd sit in front of the TV and try to mimic your movements. Last week, he picked up a racket for the first time. He can barely swing it. His grip is wrong, his stance is unstable. But he tries. Every day he tries. Because you showed him that fighting spirit matters more than perfect form. You gave my son hope. From the bottom of my heart, thank you. I couldn't read anymore. I put the phone face down on the bed and just sat there, tears streaming down my face. I'd walked into that hotel room thinking I'd failed everyone, and here were thousands of people telling me the opposite. Not a single message about my serve percentage, not one person criticizing my unforced errors, not one comment about the specific shots I missed. Instead, thousands of people saying the same thing in different ways. Thank you for showing us what's possible. Thank you for representing us. Thank you for fighting. I stayed up until 3 in the morning reading messages. Teachers saying their students now talk about tennis instead of just basketball. Young girls saying they finally see a female athlete they can relate to. Parents saying I remind them to keep pushing for their own dreams. Overseas workers saying they watch my matches to feel connected to home. Kids saying they want to be like me when they grow up. Elders saying I make them proud to be Filipino. Message after message after message. And somewhere around 2 in the morning, something shifted inside me. For years, I'd been carrying what I thought was pressure. The pressure to win, the pressure to be perfect, the pressure to never let anyone down. But reading those messages, I realized something. These people weren't watching me because they needed me to be perfect. They were watching because they saw themselves in my struggle.
The father working overseas to support his family. The student trying to pass an exam. The kid with a disability learning to walk. The nurse working 12-hour shifts far from home. They didn't need me to win every match. They needed me to keep trying, to show up, to fight. That's what they connected with, not my victories, my effort. 3 days later, I did an interview with a Philippine sports channel. The interviewer asked, "How do you handle the pressure of representing an entire country?" I paused. I could feel my eyes starting to water. I'd been thinking about this question ever since that night. For a long time, I thought the pressure was about winning, like if I lose, I'm failing the Philippines. But after that night, reading those messages, I realized something. People aren't watching me because they need me to be perfect. They're watching because they see themselves in the struggle. The father working overseas to support his family. The student trying to pass an exam. The kid with a disability learning to walk. They don't need me to win every match. They need me to keep trying, to show up, to fight. That's what they connected with, not my victories, my effort. 3 days later, I did an interview with a Philippine sports channel. The interviewer asked, "How do you handle the pressure of representing an entire country?" I paused. I could feel my eyes starting to water. I'd been thinking about this question ever since that night. For a long time, I thought the pressure was about winning, like if I lose, I'm failing the Philippines. But after that night, reading those messages, I realized something. People aren't watching me because they need me to be perfect. They're watching because they see themselves in the struggle. The father working overseas to support his family. The student trying to pass an exam. The kid with a disability learning to walk. They don't need me to win every match. They need me to keep trying, to show up, to fight. That changed everything for me. I wiped my eyes on camera. I didn't care. I used to feel pressure. Now I feel purpose. The interviewer asked, "So when you step on court now, what are you thinking?" "I'm thinking about that 9-year-old girl in Cebu who wants to try tennis. I'm thinking about the nurse in Dubai who's working 12-hour shifts.
I'm not just playing for ranking points, I'm playing for everyone back home who's fighting their own battles. And that makes me stronger, not weaker. That interview changed things, not because of what I said, but because of what happened after. The clip went viral, millions of views, thousands of comments, and then something beautiful started happening. People started sharing their own stories in the comments, on social media, in messages to me, not just about tennis, about everything. A young woman who was told she couldn't be an engineer, now she's graduating top of her class. A man who was told his small business would fail, now he employs 20 people. A teenager who was bullied for being different, now she's helping other kids who feel alone. All of them saying the same thing. Seeing you fight gave me permission to fight too. I realized that what I do on a tennis court is about so much more than tennis. Every time I step onto that court, I'm not just representing the Philippines. I'm representing everyone who's been told they can't. Everyone from a place the world overlooks. Everyone who's fighting a battle that feels impossible. And if my struggle can give them even a small amount of hope, then every loss is worth it. Every hard day is worth it. Every moment of doubt is worth it. 6 months after that night, the numbers told a story. Tennis court registrations in the Philippines increased by 35%. 3 new tennis academies opened in Manila, specifically targeting underprivileged youth. The Philippine Sports Commission allocated additional funding for tennis development programs. But the bigger impact was harder to measure. Teachers reported students using my story in essays about perseverance. Youth counselors used my interviews to talk about handling pressure and finding purpose. And most importantly, young Filipino girls started seeing sports as a viable path, not just for fame or money, but for representing something bigger than themselves. I didn't just become a tennis player, I became a bridge between the Philippines and the world stage, between struggle and possibility, between individual achievement and collective pride. After reading all those messages that night, I posted on social media. To everyone who sent me words of encouragement, you think you're supporting me, but the truth is, you're the ones giving me strength. Every time I step on court, I carry your dreams with me, not as pressure, as fuel. Salamat. Let's keep fighting together. The post got 2 million likes, 100,000 shares. But more than the numbers, it created something I didn't expect, a community. Filipino fans started sharing their own stories in the comments, struggles they overcame, dreams they're chasing, ways my journey inspired their own. It wasn't about tennis anymore. It was about what happens when someone shows you that your background doesn't define your ceiling. That being from a place the world overlooks doesn't mean you can't compete at the highest level. That losing doesn't make you a failure. Quitting does. I think about that night in the hotel room often. I walked in thinking I'd failed everyone. I walked out understanding my purpose. The pressure didn't go away. I still feel it before every match. I still see the notifications pile up. I still know that millions of people are watching. But now I understand what that pressure really is. It's not the weight of expectation. It's the weight of connection. 110 million people who see themselves in my journey. 110 million people who are fighting their own battles. 110 million people who need to know that it's okay to lose as long as you don't quit. I can't win every match. Nobody can. But I can show up. I can fight. I can give everything I have, every single time. And somehow, that's enough. Not for me, for them. For the 9-year-old girl who wants to try tennis. For the nurse working 12-hour shifts in a foreign country. For the student who failed an exam but is going to try again. For the mother watching her son with cerebral palsy pick up a racket. For everyone who's ever been told they can't. I play for them now, not for ranking points, not for prize money, not for headlines, for them. And that makes everything different. The losses still hurt, they always will. I'm a competitor, I hate losing. But now, even in the losses, I find meaning. Because I know that somewhere, someone is watching. Someone who needed to see that you can lose and still hold your head high. That you can fail and still be worthy of respect. That's the gift those 10,000 messages gave me. They didn't just comfort me after a loss. They showed me why I play. I used to think I played tennis to win. Now I know I play tennis to inspire. And inspiration doesn't require perfection. It requires heart. So what if the moment you thought you failed everyone was actually the moment you discovered your purpose? What if the people you're trying so hard not to disappoint are actually trying to tell you that you already make them proud? What if pressure isn't something you have to carry alone? Then you read the messages, you listen to the stories, you let people in, and you realize that you're not just fighting for yourself, you're fighting for everyone who sees their own struggle in yours. That doesn't make it easier, but it makes it matter. My name is Alex Eala. I represent the Philippines, not because I'm the best tennis player in the world, but because I'm willing to fight like I am. For everyone back home who's fighting their own battles, for everyone who's ever been told they can't, for everyone who needs to see that losing doesn't mean quitting. I didn't just read messages that night, I discovered my purpose. And in doing so, I found something more valuable than any trophy. I found my people, 110 of them, and together we keep fighting. Salamat Pilipinas, para sa inyo lahat.